And welcome again to another Wednesday night here at the Sports Crib. Let's get all our commercial stuff out of the way. As you can see by the banner on the bottom, uh, you can subscribe and donate to our channel. Our Cash App is $ JEK3. And we are on YouTube as well. Make sure you go and subscribe to our channel on there. I see most of the guys are here. I see Dave. How you doing, Dave?
Doing okay. How's it going?
Doing fine, doing fine. And Reggie, how are you doing tonight?
Always a pleasure, guys. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Bo, I know you were busy last week. How are you doing?
Doing good. How about you guys?
Doing all right.
Very good.
Well,
very good.
Give me 1 minute here, guys. I'm gonna let you. I have to start off tonight with the music because our first title of the evening.
On your turntable. Don't give a what's in here. Cause I'm a rider, getting down, going hard, baby, don't stop. Don't give a what's in here.
So, anyway, we had within 2 minutes, a WWE match broke out in the NBA.
Yes.
And I really wasn't going to talk a lot of NBA tonight. I had just a couple questions. But Draymond actually had a sleeper hold on Gobert. Gobert is what, 7'3", 7'2", and Draymond is 6'10", maybe at the most, even though they might carry him at 6'11". So Draymond's animosity doesn't just, it's not just for his teammates. I mean, a lot of people can slip into that category, I guess. So, Bo, what did you think when you saw the pictures?
I mean, he gets knocked down a couple points for form. He didn't really lock it in, right? Like you got to get that other elbow in so you can really put it down. So, it's something he could have got out of. He's not going to get the tap. So, it probably would have went the distance.
Well, I hope he got his 768,000 worth. That's his fine. That in 5 games, I believe.
Ooh, goodness.
So, Reggie, you think for that price he should have locked it in?
I mean, I think so. Unfortunately for me, I have Draymond on my basketball fantasy team, so that's not looking good right now. I got to go and adjust those lineups for the next week here or so. But yeah, I feel like sometimes you just have a scuffle and you get suspended. I mean, at least you got to mix it up a bit. He said, from what I hear, Gobert had got into it with Clay. So from what I hear, he was just defending this guy there in a very interesting type fashion.
Dave, what do you think, Dave?
Well, I'm used to fighting in hockey. Don't see many sleeper holds though there. Those are fisticuffs, but I don't know. He got what 5-game suspension or how many games?
5 games. 5 games and almost $750,000 fine. Over
yeah, he's doing fine financially though.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
No
maybe
needed.
Dana White will be contacting him for.
I mean, he's probably going to get a UFC sponsorship out of it anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, well, like I said, it was so unusual. I had just 3 little questions that I was going to put there, and then all of a sudden I looked back at YouTube and Bleacher Report. I mean, it's everywhere. You can't miss it.
Yeah.
So my next subject is James Harden. Since James Harden has joined the Clippers, They are winless. They, as of last night, I believe they were 0-5 or 0-6
Yeah,
since
somewhere around
he
there.
joined the team. You know, so Reggie, your thoughts on Mr. Harden and him joining the Clippers?
Well, I know that the 76ers seem pretty happy because they seem to be on a tear in the Eastern Conference. I think they're like the top team or so in the Eastern Conference since he left. So if there's any bigger indictment, I think that's one of the biggest indictments is what a team does when you're not around. And I think that the sample size is very small. I don't think that this is an 82 game season. I think it's a little bit of an overreaction. People thinking that you're just going to drop a guy on a team and the team dynamics don't matter. They do matter. They matter. And you got to work a guy into the rotation. You can't this isn't you just picking guys on the playground and hoping that you can run with 4 or 5 strangers. Like they have to get time for him to get acclimated with the team. He didn't play in the preseason, I don't think. So he's got to work off some of that. I do think they'll be okay in the end, but it is somewhat concerning when you trade for a guy like that and things go south so fast. I think he's going to have to find a confidence there. And sometimes when you're on a new team with other stars, you don't look for your shot as much. You're trying to play nice, you're trying to get the ball, move the ball around. You're not really playing instinctively. And I think that's what he's going to have to do for them to be successful there.
Well, Bo, his coach said that he's playing too polite.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like you have Draymond choking out one guy and you have Harden that's putting an entire team to sleep. So, I mean, kudos to him for overachieving.
Dave?
Well, I mean, like Reggie says, too polite, too nice. It's one of these things is he's going to have to do his thing and to show what he's worth. And maybe it's exactly the way Reggie's describing it. He's just getting used to the way this team operates, and it's a long season. So let's see if they go 1-5 instead of 0-6.
Well,
I mean, it'll get better. I mean,
I think so
you
too.
just dropped a guy on there. You can't really expect too much right out of the gate. You got to let chemistry happen. It's early, so there's plenty of time.
but I never really saw how he was going to fit into the Clippers. You can, because of Kawhi and his, you don't know how many games he's going to be healthy. You know that sooner or later Paul George is going to be hurt. So
Harden's probably going to be hurt too.
And a certain amount of turnovers, but I'm really kind of concerned, with how things are going to. What happens when he decides he doesn't like LA?
Oh man, I think he's run out of those choices. I mean, not too many. He had trouble getting over to LA. I think that he's used that card a bit too many times at this point. Like, where is he going to go?
Where was Dwight?
He's been playing for the Dragons in Thailand. That's what that's his next stop.
Yep.
Okay, guys. Enough of that. There. I was going to say maybe you've seen more of the new rookie Wembanyama than we have, Bo. What's your thoughts? I know that there's supposedly especially for business sake, and from what I saw, this young kid Clayton, he's kind of running neck and neck, at least right now. I know it's only a small game sample, but both of these young kids seem to be fitting in very well out there.
Yeah, Wemby has a ton of talent. My biggest question for him is, because he's so big, does he end up with the same problem that a lot of guys that are real big end up having, where they just get injured a lot? So I expect him to have a couple of really good seasons. It's just, can he keep himself in shape? Can he keep himself from getting hurt? Because that's one of the biggest things with the really tall guys is they generally aren't the most durable guys ever.
Yeah. Unless you're Tim Duncan or someone like that.
Yeah.
So I really had to talk to you about this, Bo, because I saw yesterday where it says that a judge had granted Oregon State and Washington State full control of the Pac-12.
They'd have to.
We kind of talked about this the last time, but is this a two-team conference?
It's the Pac-2, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Well, I mean, of course they have to rule in their favor. They're the only two schools. That's like saying you're written in the will, but you're the only kid. It's like, well, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think what it allows them to do is it allows them to seek out other conference partners. Like if they are going to try and merge with the Mountain West, I think what it does is it allows those schools to have the latitude to try and bring other schools in. Whereas before, there was still a hierarchy to the Pac-12 that could have made things convoluted for doing things to help keep that conference alive. That being said, even if they do keep it alive, it's never going to be the same. If they do say they merge with the Mountain West, right? Your top school there is Boise State. And then the next school from there is a significant drop off. So that means your in conference games where you're going to try and get into, the playoffs is Oregon State, Washington State, and Boise. That's your powerhouse schools. That's how you're going to try and get the votes. It just doesn't inspire a lot of confidence there. So although that ruling does allow them to take control and try and salvage this thing, ultimately, I have to think that the Pac-12 dies and they end up joining one of these other conferences.
So,
I think one of the things, there's a lot of money involved. I think it could be up to $430 million. It's not chump change.
For sure.
And the teams that are leaving they're of course appealing it. So this isn't over. I mean, they're going to be fighting it right now. I think they're trying to figure out where they can get the most sympathetic court. Can we get it over into Seattle or whatever? But I think where the two schools that are left, where they have a strong precedent, is because when USC and UCLA left, the teams that were there at the time said they're out. They're not on the board anymore.
Yeah.
So now the two remaining teams are basically saying, well, hey, that's our precedent.
Yep.
Didn't say how many. You guys are now leaving. Well, we're doing the same thing that you guys did to USC and UCLA, where you basically cut them out. So it's going to be interesting. And I guess with that money, I don't know what would happen with that. Could they try to use it to try to woo other school, another big name school over into their conference to make it more meaningful? I don't know. I mean, the Mountain West, just geographically probably makes sense, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? It's part of their existing TV contract that comes to an end anyway. So that's going to be an interesting negotiation. If you couldn't get a contract in the books with a Pac-12 that at one time had 8 of the schools in the top 25, I don't know how enticing it's going to be when you have 2 schools where one of, I guess if they were to merge, right? So you'd have 3 schools. You have one that's in the top 25, as in Oregon State. I'm not exactly breaking down the door to give you a TV contract for that, especially when, they have their own conference network, right? They have Pac-12 TV. So, I know Apple TV was going to try and be part of that as well, but I mean, yeah, I feel like they're going to take advantage of something where they might hang out for a year, but ultimately, I mean, what a two school conference if they don't merge. So they're essentially like Notre Dame, right? Like they're just out there doing their own thing. They write whatever schedule they feel like writing and hope they beat enough teams that are good that year to get into a playoff situation. Like I don't see a real clean path forward unless they were to just close up shop and go ahead and join one of these other conferences. For me, I think it would make sense for them to, go where Oregon and Washington are going, right? Because then you get to keep those rivalries intact. You get to have, things that, especially as a Husky fan, the Apple Cup was always something I like. It's great to watch. The one that we're going to have here in a couple of weeks is it's going to be the 114th Apple Cup and potentially the last one ever. So,
Wow.
It would be cool if they did end up going and joining them in their new conference. But time will tell.
Good evening, Don. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How y'all doing?
Oh
Very
my
good,
God! Hey,
very
hey,
good.
hey!
Right? We can hear you. This is amazing.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
Show just started.
Knocking on wood. Knocking on wood.
Yeah.
Don, we were talking about that young rookie that you guys have down there in San Antonio. We got a lot of publicity now going on, right? When's Pop gonna get that extension for another 50 years?
Yeah,
I know he's gonna get one.
Yeah. So, Victor's had some ups and downs, but he's still he's what 18 years old, 19. I mean, it's still a young season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very optimistic about his ceiling. I mean, this kid's a player. Of course, we do have the low IQ Spurs fans, and there's a lot of them who expect. Well, he's on the team now, so we should instantly become contenders first year. And I said that's not how it works.
Yeah, they won a championship, man.
You
They
have
won a
to
championship
build
down there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Today.
So, I think that the Spurs front office will bring him some veterans, in the next few years, and I think the Spurs are in good shape.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we we were talking about one of your favorite players, Mr. Harden. And since he's joined the Clippers, they're 0-5, maybe even 0-6. I'm not sure. What do you think about that team?
That didn't work out too well, did it?
At least not so far. So, getting back to our NCAA questions here, Don. Everybody's talking about the contracts, of course, and how these all of these coaches, the big number that they're going to owe these coaches. I have Jimbo has a contract, I believe, but within 2 months they have to give him $19.7 million and then pay him until 2031.
Oof.
And
Yep.
and he can go and get another job if he wants to, and they still have to pay
Yikes.
Right?
him. I mean, Donna, I'm going to use an old term here, but I mean, if there was a carpetbagger in Texas, Jimbo got to be one.
Well, I think Jimbo's I think he's a fellow Southerner. So that carpetbaggers only reply to Yankees, I think. But so.
Well,
let's
should I just call him a thief in the night? I mean, I mean,
Hey, he's not a thief. He earned that money. Right?
Yeah. That was the contract. You're right.
Great agent. Great
I mean,
agent, guys.
right?
Tell you
He's
that.
got A&M playing right at average like A&M's been for the last 100 or so years. So I mean, yeah. But let me give you some background on that. So A&M actually spent more to fire him than they did to hire him.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's come out. But if you
Yeah,
have
They must
time,
have a lot of money down there.
I'm going to give you the rundown on how all this happened. So the chancellor of the A&M system is a gentleman named John Sharp. Now, John Sharp used to be, he has the distinction of being the last Democrat to be elected to a state office in Texas. So when
What year
his
was
day
that?
in, he was in 90s, 1992.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it had to be
94.
about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
No, it was the
So,
1890s.
So anyway, so John Sharp was the comptroller of the state of Texas, A&M graduate. He was a Yale leader. Now I'm going to explain to you what a Yale leader is. They're these guys wearing these 1950s crew cuts, dressed all in white. Very different, to say the least. But John Sharp was one of them. And his best friend and roommate was a guy named Rick Perry, who was also a Democrat, but he switched over, became Republican, and was our governor for several years. He even ran for president.
I think he ran for president at one
Yeah,
point.
he did. He did.
Yeah.
Rick Perry.
He was
But,
Secretary of Energy, or he
Yeah,
was
something like
a cabinet member too.
Right. So, they were best friends, but one went Democrat, one went Republican, but they still had somewhat relationship. Well, John Sharp, when he got defeated in his election, he was appointed chancellor of the A&M system. Now, thing about Sharp, and he's typical of a lot of Texas A&M fans. They hate Texas more than they love themselves. Let that sink in. If A&M goes 1-10 all year, as long as that one victory is against Texas, they're happy.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
They're out there, chasing the goats and sheep and trying to have sex with them. But
It's not even 10 o'clock yet.
Yeah, the music's already been played.
Hey,
Yeah.
music hasn't
James
played.
played music out of the gate.
I knew that one was coming. So go ahead, Don.
So backing up about 3 years ago, Texas hires Steve Sarkisian, and he has Sarkisian. Sarkisian has Texas number 7 in the nation right now, and on the verge of being a playoff team. A&M is tanking. Okay, Texas and Oklahoma are about to enter the SEC. John Sharp says Jumbo Fisher is going nowhere with all this talent he's accumulated. I mean, they spent God knows how much money on the number 1 recruiting class just 2 years ago. So he panics and he's like, "Oh shit! Texas is coming next year, and we're 5-4 and 5 or whatever they were. I'm going to fire Jumbo Fisher in the middle of the season." So he's gone. So that's the background of this. Well, he knew he was going to fire Fisher, but he had to get all the A&M alums, and they do have a very rabid, big donor base, and they raised the money and they fired him.
Wow.
So the A&M had a I think they had the number 8 recruiting class. They've had some decommitments. So it's kind of the law of unintended consequences is biting A&M in the ass right now.
Mm-hmm.
It is so much fun to watch. So grab your popcorn and drinks and watch the
That being
meltdown.
said, where's the sign-up sheet to be a flame-out coach where I get $100 million to do nothing? Because I'm in. Let's do this.
Right, man. Raise money for you to sit on your couch. That's crazy.
I'm allowed
So
it. I'm
They
not too
call-
proud to say I was a bad coach and collect a bunch of money.
Our next show probably after Thanksgiving will be who does A&M hire?
Right.
Deion Sanders
Yeah.
already said.
Yeah.
Deion said thanks, no thanks. The guy living at Oregon, he said thanks, no thanks. Lane Kiffin said screw you. So it's going to be fun. I'm thinking they'll probably get the guy from Duke Elko. He's a candidate,
man.
and Jeff Traylor at UTSA is another candidate. So I'm one to see how that works out. But
There's
we should have
a bunch of people up in Pennsylvania that would love to send James Franklin or Narduzzi down there for you. Either one,
Hey.
take your pick.
Hey,
Well, I heard Mel Tucker's available.
right. Another guy, right? Crazy
Yeah,
year for college
Mel
coaches.
Tucker would fit the A&M culture perfectly.
oh my God. So, Don, do you think that there's going to be a mass portal exit?
Oh yeah, there will be, and you know how the portal works. They'll bring in some people to replace them. I think by firing, Jimbo probably set the program back a few years as far as, because you have to hire new staff, new system, get your players in. As we know, the players from the previous regime may not fit your current regime. That's what happened to Sark. Sark had to bring in his guys, the quarterback that fits his system. And so, his running backs, if you can't catch a football, I don't care how many yards you have on the ground, Sarkisian will not sign you to a scholarship. You have to be able to catch the ball in the backfield. So,
Makes
I mean,
sense.
Josh McDaniels currently doesn't have a job.
Wow.
Yeah, he says he can make a high school quarterback into an all-pro. So
See?
I mean, wish he could do that for an NFL quarterback. That'd be probably still have his job, right?
You guys are just so pessimistic. I don't understand. Yeah.
We're just here enjoying the dumpster fire, keeping warm.
But Bo, they did fire the entire coaching staff. So I need a job.
Right? I'm in. I can be bad at football. It's fine. I don't want to do too good of a job. Then I have to keep working.
Although, hey, what, 6 games and out?
That's right. 6 game and to the beach. Here we come. I like it.
Right down the street. I can pedal to the beach. I'm fine. So with that being said, talking about some of the craziness in college football, Don, I'm going to start with you. Who right now, if you had to vote, who would be your top 3 Heisman hopefuls?
Top 3 Heisman. Well, I would say Phoenix out of Washington. I think he's had a phenomenal year. I think the Daniels, the quarterback at LSU, has a good year. I don't know if he'll get it because usually they try to get to a team that's in the top 10, and LSU's, I think, is going to be sitting right outside that. I really like that running back at Oklahoma State, but he kind of faltered last game. They got their ass whipped, so I don't know. So I'd say the quarterback at Washington, Daniels at LSU. I thought Jonathan Brooks was kind of outside looking in, but he tore his ACL against TCU last week. Number 3, that what's his name, Harrison Jr. from Ohio State. He might be one of them. So I'll go with those 3.
Okay, Reggie.
Very similar to those 3. Now I know right now, betting odds has Bo Nix in there. Bo Nix like 33 in college years, even though he's only 23. He's seems like he's been playing for a million years. So I have a hard time.
He's Moses
he is, man. Like at this point. So and plus he played for Auburn once, and as a Bama fan, I just have a hard time even acknowledging his existence. But he doesn't play anymore, so it wouldn't be crazy if Bo Nix won. But my list is gonna be very similar to Don's list. I like Penix. I just like Washington. I love watching them play. I just love watching them play. And I'm hoping that they can somehow get into the playoffs. Lord, please. I want them in there somehow. I'm not sure. They're right outside that 4. But I think I like Penix, Harrison Jr., and I guess I'll throw Daniels in there, even though I'm not really super fan of him. So I'm really rooting for Penix in this list.
Oh, okay. Dave.
Well, unfortunately, Colorado isn't doing so great, but I would have loved to have had Deion Sanders' son in there, the quarterback,
Shador.
as a dark horse. But I'll leave him as my number 3, and then I'll say Penix and McCarthy. But unfortunately, you got to be winning it, I think, in order to be considered. So,
Bo.
You?
Yeah, I'm pretty similar to everybody. I have Penix at 1. I think Nix has worked his way into that conversation, and then of course on the non-quarterback front, Marvin Harrison Jr. has to be in that conversation.
Yeah.
This could possibly be the year that a wide receiver breaks through. I wouldn't hold my breath, but it might be. When's the last time a cornerback made it? Woodson?
A cornerback?
Yeah, Woodson, wasn't it?
Goodness, it's been I said it's
Yeah,
defensive player alone, right? Like they don't seem to warrant consideration that side of the ball.
yeah.
Yeah, the last one that got consideration, I believe, was an offensive tackle, wasn't it? That wasn't a quarterback.
Goodness gracious.
For a Heisman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I mean, it seems ironic, that it's a running back on the statue, but I think it's a quarterback.
Can't seem to get past the line, man. Right?
Yeah.
Change it to a quarterback at this point.
So before we start talking football, I think it's time for us to get Sue's Corner here, Dave.
All right. And it's a related to the NFL, and actually a subject that we talked about a little bit about last week, I believe. So here's what Sue has. My question of the week is, what will happen to Bill Belichick? It's been a terrible season for the Patriots, and being not only the head coach but the GM makes it unlikely that he will be with the Patriots next year. Which scenario will it be? 1, Kraft allows him to finish out the season and rebuilds from there. 2, he gets fired now during the bye week. I would hope he can retire with some dignity, because as much as I hated playing against the Patriots, you have to admire his record and what he's brought to the Patriots. And the bigger question facing the ownership of the Patriots, do you continue doing things the quote Belichick way, unquote, and control everything about the team? In which case you probably keep Mayo. And I guess there's some he's the linebackers coach, but according to Sue, there's some conversation about I think it's Jared Mayo. Or do you hire a head coach and a separate general manager and start rebuilding not only physically, but also philosophically? Since Kraft recently married someone 33 years younger than him, I'd bet on the fresh start option. That's Sue's Corner.
That's awesome.
And if you look down among our subjects, we're going to talk about that in a little bit when we talk about those. So, Reggie, I do have to kind of talk to you for a minute. What's going on with Trey?
You mean as far as Trey Young is what you're saying?
Yes.
What's going on with Trey? I don't know what's going on with our team in general. Now, I will tell you this, because I did bring up my fantasy earlier. I'm glad I didn't draft Trey this year. I got DeJounte on my team. I am a homer, but I'm a sensible homer. Trey disappointed me last year, so I couldn't draft him again this year. So this year I have DeJounte on my team, and he's paying dividends for me. So as much as I hope that he gets it together, I'm not really sure. I think it's going to be hard for Trey to have another year or two and be any kind of distraction and still stay on this team. It's becoming to be a point where if there's any other, if he has a year like he's had the past couple of years, there was years we talked about trading John Collins before it finally coming to fruition. It's going to be the same kind of situation. I think Trey end up playing for a different team if he doesn't get it together this year.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I just kind of missed that when we were talking about the NBA. So let's see. Week 10. Where to begin? Poor technique, lack of discipline, poor execution, drops, overthrows, 3 defensive penalties that led to scores, including the second try.
Well, that was crazy. Insane.
So Josh Allen, he throws 2 INTs, has a quarterback rating of 27.1 in a 24-22 loss to the Broncos. And after all that, they fired the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
On Tuesday morning. Bo, I smoke, but I don't know if I smoke that goddamn much. But, I mean,
Yep.
I mean, can you count to 13? It might not have been 12. I thought when they were circling them, I thought I saw at least 13 guys out there.
Right?
How can your defensive coordinator and how does your coaches miss something that, I mean, come on, bro.
Well, I mean, and you're firing.
What am I supposed to say here?
You're firing an offensive coach, and I mean, realistically, they are, in the top 5 in points scored, right? As I recall, your OC isn't the one out there chucking interceptions, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, that's on Josh Allen making bad reads. If anybody was going to get fired, because I mean, this is clearly just a scapegoat type thing. If anybody was going to be, it should have been the special teams coach. Their special teams was getting barbecued all night. So, I mean, you look at the Broncos, whether it was kick returns where they were starting from the 40 or turnovers where they were starting from the 40. I mean, they were starting in midfield almost all day. And then you finish the game, they miss a field goal, and you got 12 guys on the field, and it might as well have been half their team on the field. So, like, where was the special teams guy in this conversation? Like, that should have been the coach that got the boot if somebody was just arbitrarily getting fired.
Yeah, I mean, 5 defensive penalties and you fire your offensive coordinator. What do you think about that, Don?
Yeah, that's crazy. Every week we make our picks and always pick Buffalo because I keep thinking Josh Allen is going to get out of this slump. He's going to get out. And I'm thinking, well, shit, last time I had this feelings about a guy, his name was Carson Wentz. So hopefully
man, that's a rough comparison.
Josh Allen can recover because I like him. I think he's a great guy and all that. But Buffalo has a lot of issues right now. Their offensive coordinator wasn't one of them, I don't think. It might have been a small part. But, yeah, like you said, special teams, their defense sucks. So, yeah, it's a head-scratcher for sure.
Reggie.
I think that Buffalo has a Josh Allen problem. It's very simple. The same guy that you depend on to get you there is the same guy that's costing you. There's nothing you can do about it. Like, he's out there. He hates the check down for some reason. He can't stand it. I don't think he sees beyond 10 to 15 yards down the field on any given play if they're not handing it off. And it's a guy, when you have that much talent, sometimes a good coaching job is trying to contain the talent, trying to have the talent play within the confines of the game rather than trying to force your talent on the game. Throw that deep ball all the time, and he's making all these mistakes pretty consistently. I think it was something like 9 turnovers in 3 games. That'll get you benched in a lot of different situations. If your name was not Josh Allen, that is going to get you right in the pine here. So I don't know if firing their OC makes Josh Allen throw less interceptions all of a sudden, or make him decide that he may want to throw to a running back every now and then. but I feel like that's going to be a big problem with them because it's with any given sport, it's always the biggest issue when your superstar player is your problem also.
What's your comments on this, Dave? Like I said, you can't count to 11. I mean, it's I don't understand that type of defensive penalty. As a matter of fact, I should have addressed Bo with this probably, but I mean when I said poor technique, I mean there are ways that you can hide a hold if you're a cornerback. I mean, that are perfectly legal within that 5 yards. But if you know that the officials are watching this, and this is a point that they're watching, then you can't run through a guy or not turn your head around when the ball is in the air for 5 minutes. I mean, Dave, maybe I'm just ranting because I'm, I hate poor defense.
Well, I mean, first of all, with Dorsey, I just want to back up a second about Dorsey. I think what happened is they came with a handful of straws, and he just drew the short straw. I think that they got several problems there, kind of like what Bo was talking about with the special teams. And with Josh Allen, I just want to say that I'm wondering if there's something physically wrong. I know before they were talking about him making bad decisions, but is he really as dynamic of a quarterback as he was on his feet and those types of things? So I'm just not sure if he's 100%.
So let me jump in right there. So the he looks like he's physically fine because he did the cross body throw into triple coverage. So he had plenty of on the ball. Like that is 100% bad decisions. Like
He thinks he can get it there, bro. He
thinks
he can get it there.
Everything he did in that play is what every quarterback coach will murder you if you're the QB. Even if you make the play, they're like, hey, good job. Don't ever do that again.
Well, it's just such a far cry from just a couple seasons ago. But we'll see. I was looking at this. He's up to 11 interceptions, and I think his career worst was 15. So
Wow.
he's on track to
hold my beer.
Yeah, man.
Exactly.
You're gonna hit close to double digits. He'll hit close to 20 interceptions.
Yeah,
at this point.
Yeah, and then in terms of you were talking about the defense and I guess the holding calls and this type of stuff, and the problem is and I saw this in the Pittsburgh game. There was a penalty thrown that I don't think in normal situations would never be thrown, but because of the situation, they just threw the flag. It was kind of like on a pick play that would have ended the game actually. But I think here, and one of the things that I noticed is that some of the officials throwing the flags, they're not in a position to actually see what's happening. It's like they're looking through the backs of the receiver and the defensive backs, and they can somehow tell what's happening with the hand fighting. And so it's almost as if the officials are kind of guessing, well, this is what it looks like it was, and that's what they're calling. Yeah, I mean, and it's not only defensive back, it's receivers too. There's a lot of good receivers that are very good at all of a sudden gaining separation all of a sudden, and it's a slight little subtle push off that could be flagged. But I think that you got to play to the referee and what were you able to get away with, but then sometimes all of a sudden they'll start throwing the flag. So I didn't see the actual plays to see how flagrant they were, but a lot of it depends on the eye of the beholder, and the beholder is the official.
Yeah, I think we bashed officials enough. I'm sure I'll be back next week doing it, but I did give him a break this week. So I woke up at 6:00 because out here, the games are played at 6:30. So I'd figure I'd start my day with the NFL early, and it's the last game across the pond and all. And after watching the first quarter, and I think the game was 7-3, I reawoke to see the Pats Bailey Zappi throw the game sealing interception. Colts win 10-6. I think I have to start this question with you, Dave. Still think that Belichick's pride will tolerate what could be a 4-13 season, and they really don't have any hope on the immediate horizon. And as you said, he is the GM as well as the coach. Maybe the GM could fire the coach and go upstairs. What's your thought? I mean, 4-13 this year, 5-12 next year, maybe 4-13 another year after that, and maybe Tom Brady will show up, or Tom Brady Jr. But right now it ain't there, Dave.
Yeah, I don't know Bill Belichick personally. I can only go by what I've seen him in interviews and how he reacts and how he comes across. And actually, his father was from the Mon Valley. It was from Western Pennsylvania. But I still stick with what I was saying last week, in that I just don't see Bill Belichick quitting. He's a stubborn guy. And I also, and I could be wrong, but I also don't see him all of a sudden saying, well, hey, I'll give up the GM job and just coach, or vice versa. And probably he would be better off sticking with the coaching rather than the general management, because I don't think that their drafting has been that great ever. So I just don't see Belichick quitting. I think it's more a matter of Kraft pulling the trigger and deciding that hey, I want to end the misery and move on and try to go to a new era.
Okay, Don, what do you think about Belichick? Will his pride let him go upstairs, or do you think his pride is going to stay on the field, and Mr. Kraft will have to tell him?
Everything that he's accomplished in his career, I think he needs to at least go out with some dignity. That's when you call him in the office, say, hey, Bill, we appreciate you. We are not going to fire you in the middle of the season. You're going to finish the year, and then you're going to resign, and we will create a job for you. We'll make you some kind of special general manager, assistant, whatever. You're going to get your name in a Ring of Honor, whatever they have up in the New England, and we'll help you. You can help us select our new head coach. Give him that kind of out. I think he deserves that. I'd hate to see him just get fired, out of hand. That's the way I would treat a legend. I mean, so that's my take on it. He deserves something better than what Tom Landry got, for sure, or even Jimmy Johnson, for that matter.
Wow, tough comparisons there. Reggie, what's your thoughts?
I agree with what's being said. I think that end of the day, when you look at his record, his last winning season was 2021. We act like it was 1921 with the way that people talk about him. That was just, isn't it 2023 now? Like, they were acting like the guy just sucked for the last decade. I mean, you've got over 300 wins. He's having his worst season since the year 2000. That was 23 years ago. People, I don't understand what people expect. Sometimes, guys, you're not going to win in this league. I mean, that's just the way it goes. Some years is not going to be your year. Are we going on this? If it's not your year, every other year we're going to fire you. Now, I do think that there is, from a GM standpoint, they lucked into Tom Brady. They didn't take Tom Brady first round. They lucked into Tom Brady. So they have never been good. Like David said, they've never drafted well. I think from a GM, he would have been fired if his name was not Belichick and that position was split. The GM would have been fired, and Belichick would have still been there coaching. And I still think I think he has a chance to do that, guys. He's 28 wins, right? Behind Shula. I think it's Shula that's first.
Bill, we got some kind of reverb with you.
Yeah, your mic's picking up.
Oh, okay. Got it.
I think it was Shula that he's behind, I want to say, at about 28 wins. I think Belichick's right around 300 there. So if I'm the owner and I have the chance, now at this rate, it might take him 6 more years to get that 28 wins. I mean, it might take him forever to get that 28 wins. But it's a nice thing to have on your franchise resume that you had Tom Brady there and you had the most winningest coach of all time with your franchise. I think that's a nice thing to be able to say. So I'm hoping, like everybody else has said, the guy's treated with some dignity. He's like 10 wins 2 years ago is not an absolute bum now, and you just don't have a quarterback. And you're dealing with the same thing everybody in the NFL deals with when you don't have a quarterback. You're not good. So I don't know if firing Bill Belichick automatically makes Mac Jones Tom Brady, but I don't think it will. So hopefully they keep him around for a little bit, or at least let him go with some dignity. I don't think they're going to do it middle of the season. Definitely not like that.
No, I never thought that they would fire him in the middle of the season, but he does only have 2 wins. That's how I said, like possibly 4-13. It could be worse, but we're going to say possibly 4-13. And like I said, and like you just said, Reggie, I mean, Tom Brady's not coming back through them doors anytime soon. Bill, how are you doing tonight?
Doing very, very well. And I'm the one that predicted preseason that Joshua Patrick Allen would regress to the mean, for those who are wondering.
Middle name.
I saw all of this coming. For those that remember, I kind of called this one. And part of it is just because of everything had to be so finely calibrated for him to play well. It was almost unsustainable. And I've been saying this, since he was in college. He's worked really hard and he's done so much to get to where he is. I don't think he's going to be this bad forever, but I don't think he's going to go back to that trajectory he seemed to be on, where he was going to be talked about in the same breath with people like Patrick Mahomes II. I think that part of his career is going to end. But will he still be a top 10 starting quarterback in the NFL? Sure. I mean, he's not going to be this bad forever. But Brian Daboll covered over, I think, a host of ills and sins. And removing Brian Daboll has pushed him back into his developmental curve a little further back to where he used to be. William Stephen Belichick Jr. is not going anyplace. Now, he should, if it not for his stubborn pride, give up the GM duties. He's never been terribly good at that. He's a fantastic game day coach still. I mean, they would have 0 wins if not for his ability to coach. That is not a good roster, people. It's not just Michael McCorkle-Jones. Who do you want off their offensive line? Quick. Who do you want? Anybody?
I don't even know their offensive line.
Okay. Who do you want off their quick? Who do you want off their defensive line? Who would you like to take onto your team from their defensive line? Exactly. So, as I once joked, the GM is going to get the coach fired if this continues.
Does anybody here have Stevenson in their fantasy?
I do. Yes. Unfortunately.
There you go.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So,
but I would not draft him again, though. By the way,
right? But that's one of their best players on offense, and he's considering the offensive line has been reasonably productive. They have a really great young corner who unfortunately is hurt in Christian Gonzalez, and then that's almost the end of the story. Who else do you want off this team? I mean, they paid a lot of money for Hunter Henry, and he's, he hasn't embarrassed himself, but he's not blowing the doors off of the league. And then they went out and got Mike Gesicki because he loves tight ends. And, Mike Gesicki is essentially a very large wide receiver, right? He was a guy that played volleyball until his junior year of high school and then started playing football. And it shows. When you watch him play football, he looks like a volleyball player. He's explosive, he's quick, but boy, he does not like the dirty stuff. So you have a team that's built as if it's going to go fast and throw the ball around, but they're bad at that. What they do best is run the ball, but their offensive line are not great run blockers. Like, it's the whole thing where it's like ham, no burger. Remember that? The line, right? It was like none of these things fit together, right? There's none of the pieces of the team seem to make sense coherently and cohesively. You have a quarterback who excels at the short to intermediate passing game, and then they haven't built their offense to be great at that. The receivers are not great run after catch guys, right? I mean, the receivers, they have one receiver that I kind of like, and that's Demario Douglas, who was a 6th rounder, right, out of Liberty. The rest of their receivers are, oh my God. So, I mean, it's a roster construction nightmare. Like, in my worst dynasty league, I've done better than this. So I don't know what else to tell you. They've done it. Once again, I think the real secret sauce to the Patriot way, and people keep mentioning Brady, and obviously Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. has a big hand in this, but people are forgetting what Thomas did and what Scott Pioli did. And they used to have, I mean, just a host of Ossoff, the guy who's the GM of the Arizona Cardinals, and the GM of the there's another GM who's doing pretty well in the league in terms of building a team, who used to be in that room when they throw up the pro player personnel in the college scouting rooms. There was a bunch of terrific young guys in there 10 years ago, 15 years ago. They're all gone.
Well, Bo, like you said, that was 10 years ago. Now AI has a lot to do with your big board. What is your thoughts? Do you think? I mean, Belichick is probably closer to my age than he is yours. So I mean, do you? What do you do? You need innovation. You need someone to do something new, play a different song or something. What's your thoughts? Does Belichick fire himself? Does Kraft give him time to get out? What's the thought here?
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting because I think if he were willing to give up the GM role and just coach, I think he'd be fine. I think he's proven that he's not a great GM. So if he wants to do the hard line and maybe give up coaching to be the GM, then I think you get fired outright, right? Because outside of, well, I mean, recently he hasn't done anything well, but historically they've at least had good guys in the trenches. They haven't really had that so far over the last couple of years, but by and large, he hasn't been amazing as the GM. So if he wants to remain the GM, then I think you have to fire him. Now, I don't think he gets fired in the middle of the season, although for all of his content creators, that would be phenomenal. Like, you wouldn't even have to think of stuff to write. Like that stuff would write itself. But I don't think that happens. Obviously, he's a legend. He has, done things there that haven't been done. And so I don't think he gets fired in that way. But if he doesn't want to give up the GM role, I think ultimately he does find his way out of the building, especially if they end up with going 2-15, which is very viable at this point, especially now that you have Zappy in there, who, I mean, let's be honest, didn't look great. So, not that Mac Jones is a huge step forward either. I've never been a Mac Jones guy. So, I mean, they don't have the quarterback figured out. They don't have weapons. They don't have a line that works. I mean, if you go through every position group of this team, you're like, yeah, so there's like 30 other teams better than this. So I don't know. I find the way it's constructed, if he wants to remain the GM, I think that's what ultimately gets him out of the room altogether.
Yeah, we'll see. I thought, of course, he's not going to get a Jimbo type of buyout, but take your buyout, keep the coaching job, and move on. But just know that for the next at least 3 seasons, I don't see anywhere where you can have a winning season unless they make some drastic changes, or well, I really don't know what they could do. But anyway, I'm going to get the bad news out of the way here first. Kyler Murray leads the Cardinals to a 25-23 victory over the Falcons in his first game back from ACL. Reggie, Bijan gets back on track. He does get his rushing touchdown even in the loss.
Yes.
But are you going back to Desmond, or what's going on with the Falcons?
I'm glad I get a chance to do this before I get out of here. I'm gonna get out of here after this. I don't know. I don't know right now. That we were ready to riot down here in Atlanta at the Bijan usage, or lack of Bijan usage, was pissing us off down here. We were ready to show up at this guy's house over that, because we were like, how is Sarkisian out coaching you with this guy? Like Sarkisian had this guy looking like a future Hall of Famer, and he comes to us and he's got 1 touchdown in 10 games, looking like not like a complete bum, but you're looking around the league at other guys, and Bijan is clearly more talented than them. The lack of Bijan usage was killing us down here. We were ready with pitchforks. So I'm glad that Bijan actually got 20 touches last week and was able to be effective. But the biggest problem, guys, is the last 3 games. The last 3 games, we were beat by a guy who was new to his team. Josh Dobbs didn't even know the names of the other players. He came down here and gave us 30. Kyler Murray has not played in 11 months. He came down here and beat us. Will Levis had never played a game in his life, and he came in and beat us. I think those are the most concerning things. Those things right there are the most concerning issues we have about the team. And I don't know if there's a quarterback change that can fix that, unfortunately. Whether it's Heineke out there, whether it's Ritter out there. If defense is still giving up 30 points to a guy that's been there for 4 days, not even a full work week, then I don't think that we're going to be able to be a viable football team. Even if we make it through a weak division, which the South is kind of weak, even if somehow we have a pump fake and we make it through that division, we're not built to go against the top teams in the NFC, or even the wild card teams in NFC. So Heineke, Ritter, I'd rather Ritter, because at least there's an unknown. We know Heineke kind of what he is. He's a known quantity. I think Ritter has played like 13 games maybe. So maybe we will let him finish it out, and at least if nothing else, just absolutely suck so we can get another quarterback. I'm all fine for that too. But at this point in time, I'm not really very hopeful, only because of all of the other issues we have going on down here.
Give us your final thoughts before you go, Reggie.
Final thoughts is happy holidays, guys. Hopefully you guys get a chance to enjoy some turkey next week. I won't be around, but I'll be back the week thereafter, man. So happy holidays to everybody and their families.
All right, man.
Take care, Reggie.
All right. See you later, guys.
Hey, good, Rich.
All right.
So let's get on. Well, I don't know whether it's a happier subject or not, but Demetrius isn't here. But so I do want to talk about this. There was a shootout out here, even though it wasn't the OK Corral. It happened actually in LA. We have a score of 41-38. The over/under last week, what was it? 47. I think I wrote it down. What was the over/under last week for that game? 40-something and a half or something like that. Yeah.
48.5.
Yeah, and they all, the Chargers almost scored that much by themselves. So what did you think about that game, Don?
Hey, it was fun to watch. That's one of the games that I just happened to turn on and had me a little glass of something cold to drink, and I just watched. I said, "Wow, this game is going back and forth." I'm kind of maybe a closet Chargers fan. I like Herbert. Of course, Cameron Dicker is the kicker. Dicker the kicker. It was a fun game to watch. We got a little short, but I thought it was fun to watch. Anytime you have that much offense, and if you're a defensive person, defense coordinator type, it kind of pisses you off. But just watch the two quarterbacks go at each other, and you knew it was going to come down to one possession, and so I like those kind of games. It makes it exciting.
Bill, what did you think?
Yeah, well, obviously, as was just pointed out, for people that have still a little love in the heart for 1974 football, it was hard because almost no defense was played. I mean, it was one of those games where it's like, well, who's going to hold who to a field goal? Because whoever does that probably gets the win. But for someone that has Austin Eckler, it was a good day for me. I've targeted Austin Eckler in several fantasy leagues. So that was good news. Joshua Palmer going down and Everett going down meant that I got to see a little bit more of Quentin Johnston. I think a lot of people give up more quickly now on rookies than ever before. For those that were out on Quentin Johnston, just you wait. He's raw, but he's going to be something before it's all said and done. But yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things. This is what the NFL wants games to look like, right? They've done everything humanly possible to make it harder than ever to play defense. And it didn't work so far this year, right? Scoring was actually down this year. Well, I guess, this game was an attempt to turn that boat around in the other direction. But yes, for the casual fan, it was probably a tremendous amount of fun. If you're a fan of people taking the right angles or the proper run fits or knowing if they're in zone coverage versus man coverage, it was a little harder to watch. But yes, if you grew up on playing Madden, it was your kind of game.
Dave, what was your take on it?
I mean, it's good from the perspective it was a close game, but I actually prefer games that are like 21-17, where there is defense, where there is actual competition going on at all times on the field. So, but it was a close game. So, and especially if you're a Chargers or a Lions fan, you're absolutely going to be excited, because you're lighting it up and you want to see your team win. So from that aspect, that's good. But I'm kind of like with Bill on this, where you want to see players perform well on both sides on the ball. And if people are putting up 40 points, then probably you didn't have a good performance on the defensive side of the ball.
If I had replay, I'm pretty sure all you guys took the over last week also. So it wasn't like anybody was expecting a lot of defense in this game,
I took the over.
Especially at that, the only thing I heard was, well, the hook, but I'm going to take the over to somebody. Bo, what was your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I mean, so
I don't know if the corners, should the corners get paid at all?
I mean, they didn't get off the bus, so I wouldn't think so. Yeah, I mean, I'm with everybody else. I like defense. I hate seeing a game that is won by whoever touched the ball last. I want to see some stops. I want to see a complete football game. That being said, if you watched the Chargers, they were playing a lot of zone, but they were playing zones that were so soft that when guys were catching the ball, there wasn't even anybody in the frame, right? It's not like it was kind of contested. It was a zone and they broke to it, but they were late. It's like, here's the guy and then they're like panning around. Hey, where's the defense? Like, so I think it does lend itself well to Staley getting fired, right? He is that defensive coach that doesn't have a team that plays defense, despite the fact that he does a lot of the defensive play calling. So it was exciting, right? Lots of points. So it was a fun game in that way. But I like seeing defense, and the more that this offense for the Chargers puts up points and yards and all of that, and as bad as the defense has been, my thought from the beginning of Staley getting fired this year keeps looking better.
Yeah, but the Chargers are still one of those enigmas to me. I can't. They always have a great personnel, but they just can't seem to put it together as a team. And I had Keenan Allen, so I wasn't mad at him. But anyway. So let's see. Where's another one I want to go to? Oh yeah, there was a game last Thursday evening, and both teams combined for a whopping 10 points in the second half. The Bears got a much-needed victory, 16-13, and the Panthers got closer to that coveted number one pick.
For the Bears. For the Bears,
exactly.
right? Because the Bears on that pick.
Exactly.
Right. So that's so Bill, what's your take on this? I don't know. They keep saying Justin Fields is the answer, but there's a pretty good guy in this draft.
Right. Well, but think about this. Ryan Poles has built his entire sort of, Machiavellian, like all the things he's done is to get to this moment where he has a chance to have the first and second picks in the draft. All of the, it's like when Nobunaga Odu, right? The daimyo / shogun who helped you unify Japan. I know my man Don is all over this, right? The military historian. He was willing to burn down Buddhist temples, right? He was willing to do whatever it took. Bloodlettings, whatever it took, right? He literally had one of his generals off his own wife. No cost was too high, right? To accomplish what your goal was. His goal was to get the first and second picks in the draft. And then to auction one or both of them off to the highest bidder. Why? Because they need everything. That team is also bad. Not quite Patriots bad, but very, very close. And when your roster has exactly one offensive lineman that, I feel halfway decent about. Larry Borum is a guy that should be a swing tackle, but he's starting. Tevin Jenkins is a guy that I like. You can build around him. The rest of them pretty much got to go. And then on defense, they've got a couple of decent players, especially in the secondary. The secondary is not bad. None of the linebackers are anything super special. And they don't have – they now have Montez Sweat. But prior to Montez Sweat, they're still bottom of the league, 32 out of 32 in pass rush, right? They had, I think, 19 sacks going into that last game. I think they picked up one, maybe two. But they're still last. So 20 or 21 sacks isn't going to move you out of last place. It just moves you closer to 31st place. So they had zero pass rush. Their linebacker play was nothing special. They had decent secondary, but the secondary, if you have no pass rush and your linebackers aren't good, what's your secondary going to do? So they're in a position to restock that team because quarterback needy teams are going to come sniffing around those draft picks. Ryan Poles did all of this, right? Just like, once again, Nobunaga Odo, right? In the latter part of the 16th century, burning Buddhist temples to reunify Japan. He was willing to do it, right? Whatever has to be done. Same thing. The bloodlettings were all worth it, right? Because Japan eventually became reunified. That's what they're hoping. If they get the first and second pick, the power that gives you, because somebody's going to want Caleb Williams. Somebody's going to want Drake May, and they're going to pay you a king's ransom for those picks. And you're still going to get picks back. You'll still be picking in the first round, just later in the first round. The teams that need quarterbacks are not good teams. So it's not like they're going to be late first round draft picks. So you can still get the players you want because you don't need a quarterback. You can still get the players you want. You can stock that team up pretty quickly and have picks. Look at what the Eagles have done, right? By having those picks carry on into the future, where you have first round draft picks, extra first round draft picks in the next couple of drafts. It puts you, to quote the late, great Red Barber, now you're sitting in the catbird seat.
Well, I'm sure this is the only show that brought Japanese military strategy. But Don, Bill said you're the historian. What famous battles are you going to reenact for us here?
Funny you should say that. This past week, and this has nothing to do with football, but I was in Franklin, Tennessee, and in November 1864, the Confederates launched a foolhardy attack against Union entrenchments. 6 Confederate generals were killed, including General Hiram Granberry and General Patrick Cleburne, who just happened to have cities in Texas named after him. So, But yeah, right there at the Carter House, they were laid out. The Carter family lost their son, who was a captain in the Tennessee Regiment. He died in his bedroom. He was wounded and died. So that's kind of a sad Civil War. That's a lot of shitty stories like that. So, what are we talking about? Football?
Yeah, we were talking about those Bears, the Bears against the.
So I think Chicago, how they eked it out, I don't know. But then, of course, they were playing a team worse than they were. Chicago has their work cut out. Justin Fields is consistently inconsistent, and they need to fix that, or maybe one of their draft picks might be another quarterback. I don't know. I don't know how much trade value Justin Fields would have. It'd be kind of interesting. See how that works out.
Dave, do you think that we could have another similar situation here, like we had with the 49ers, where, perhaps they do draft Caleb Williams? What's your thoughts on the Bears? Like Bill said, they had the draft picks. Just sitting in the catbird seat here, they take Caleb Williams in the first round, and then let everybody else, give them their due in the second round. But we saw that didn't work out very well for the 49ers. But what do you think there, Dave?
Well, I'm wondering about the Bears' talent evaluation group, their scouting group, both on the professional and at the college level. You talk about stocking up draft picks. The last 2 drafts, they've drafted 21 players. That's 3 years worth of draft picks in the last 2 years. Now, a lot of them have been down in the lower rounds, but including some of the trades that they made. Whenever they traded the second rounder for Chase Claypool. So I'm starting to wonder, they've made all of these moves, and who's evaluating the talent there? I'm not sure. And then, and we're talking about the quarterback, is he the right guy? They just picked him two seasons ago in the first round as their, if you're picking a quarterback in the first round, you're expecting him to be, your quarterback back for some time, or excuse me, that was 3 years ago, Justin Fields. But he was an 11th round pick overall. I don't know. I'm wondering about the Bears' ability to evaluate talent, and unless there's been some changes there, then are you just going to compound the problem and pick the wrong quarterback again? If they're giving up on Herbert, because if they're going to be picking another quarterback high, well, then you're basically telling Justin Herbert, well, Maybe we don't need you for a fifth-year option. And they should be deciding that at the end of this season, whether they are going to end up extending them. So maybe it's good that they have those picks, but because maybe they've already reached a decision as to whether he's their long-term quarterback or not.
What's your thoughts, Bo?
He dropped off for some reason.
Did Bo drop off?
Yeah.
See, so we've all answered that one then.
But to your question, real quick, about who's evaluating, it's a combination of people. So they have Jeff King on the pro side, along with Trey Koziel, who is the co-director of player personnel, and they've got a few guys that I've actually run into on like pro days or things like that. On the other side, Brock Ackley is the assistant director of college scouting, and they've got some people who I think are decent and some people who are new who I don't know as well. Amongst the more veteran people that I've run into, Sam Somerville's been there for a while. Jeff Shiver is sort of what they call a cross-checker. Tom Bradway is their Northeast guy. Ryan Kavanaugh is the person I see the most because he's at like Northwestern and Purdue or whatever. He's at the Midwest. Area scout Reese Hicks, I've never met. No, maybe. I don't think I've met Reese Hicks. I think Hicks might be newer, but once again, West Coast, I don't see very much. Midlands area is Drew Rashina. Brendan Renoir is the Southeast. Southeast. And then John Shiley is the Southwest. And Ryan Weiss, who I remember as a player, is their combine scout. And they share them with, the ones that all participate in
the Blesto.
In Blesto, right? Exactly.
Dave, I'm going to put this question to you here. At least I'm going to let you start it out here because
I'll answer it if I can.
There's a new big man on campus. His first name is Joshua. Last name is Dobbs. The Vikings have won 5 straight. The last 2 coming with Dobbs. Dobbs had a big first half, and Saints quarterback Jameis Winston did his usual and threw 2 interceptions, 27-19, 8-point victory. But you know what I'm going to ask you here, Dave. How does Josh Dobbs outperform all 3 of our quarterbacks in 2 teams, and we can't find a decent quarterback? Or we'll talk about the other part later, but are you surprised that Dobbs is performing this well, even though we've watched him for 3 seasons in Pittsburgh? I mean, he's been on 7 teams in 7 years, almost, something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he stayed with the team for a while, for a couple seasons, and obviously they drafted him, so they saw something in Josh. Very popular in Pittsburgh. But again, I mean, he's on a different roster. I don't think that you can really compare him to the Pittsburgh quarterbacks right now. But I think that Josh Dobbs has landed in an ideal situation. The Vikings, they're a competitive team. I mean, it's not as if that this is a team that was at the very bottom, like with the Cardinals. And Josh was doing everything he could, but the Cardinals were still losing, even with him quarterbacking the Cardinals earlier in the season. Now he's in a better situation, and he's finally getting the opportunity to show what he has. And I think that I don't know if he'll become a full-time starter. I see him as kind of like a spot starter, maybe. But right now I'm loving what he's doing, and I wish him all the best. I'm sure the Saints right now would like to have him, but because Jameis Winston is being erratic, and Derek Carr he's been fighting the injuries, and so the Saints, for them, they need a steady quarterback. Because they're actually in a good position in their division. They could take that division, but they need to have a steady quarterback. And that's what Josh has been able to step into a void in Minnesota with a decent roster, and he's showing what can be done, and he's not making mistakes. Now he's turned the ball over a lot. So we'll see how this ends for him. I'm rooting for him. I hope he does very well with Minnesota.
Yeah, it seems like you said, but I'm also wondering, do you actually have enough tape on? Well, I would imagine after all of this time, but he's only started 2 games for the Cardinals.
No, he
And,
No, he
started-
played more than that.
He started he started the whole season, didn't he? I mean, until the trade
I think
Yeah.
he started like the second game.
or second game. Okay, from the second
Yeah,
game onward.
yeah.
That's
So
okay.
yeah, so he played 4 games with Arizona before he went to the he got traded to the Vikings. Yeah, but he certainly doesn't look like the old Josh does, and I'm glad to see that he has grown. So
Yeah, no, he started 8 games
Yeah, I thought
Was it
so.
eight?
Yeah,
for the
Okay.
Cardinals.
he started. I was gonna say, I thought he started pretty much the whole
He
season.
started
for the-
right at the beginning
that's
of the
right.
season.
That's what I thought.
It's surprising me that we're on week 11 already. So that's what's probably going. Like wow,
Yeah,
season's
so
already halfway. The
Right.
season's already more than halfway over.
right.
Uh,
So he started pretty much a whole season at this point.
Don, the Cowboys went scorched earth on their division rival Giants with a 49-17 victory. Dak accounted for 5 TDs, throwing for 4 and having 1 rushing. But Don, the Cowboys still haven't beaten a team with a record.
Yeah. So again, another military comparison, military history. Cowboys, Nazi Germany. Giants, France, 1940. Yeah, I'm kicking the French again. But yeah, so
Where's everybody pick on the French? Come on.
or I could say, the French, 1954, and the Viet Minh. Yeah.
Vietnam,
So
Yeah.
Dien Bien Phu.
Yeah.
Another
right?
great,
Yeah.
great moment in history of the French. But yeah, so there's no glory in beating the Giants. Yeah, you're supposed to win those games, and that's what Cowboys did. They took care of it. They did what they're supposed to do. Now do it against the Eagles. Do it against the 49ers. Do it against some of the other teams. Because to me, the Cowboys, like I said, I've always told you that I want to cheer for them, but I keep myself from going full fledged because I know they're going to break my heart. So, it's what we call fool's gold. The Cowboys, Dak looked great. There'll be times in the very near future where Dak won't look so great. So, yeah, hats off to them for doing what they're supposed to do, beat the Giants. Let's see how it goes the next few weeks. I need to look at the schedule. Who do they have for Thanksgiving? I got to check that.
They're playing the Panthers next. Their next game is the Panthers. And then they got
Okay,
the
so
Commanders,
let's
and
start with
then the
Poland.
Seahawks, and the Eagles and the Bills. So they got some other games coming up, which come conveniently in December. So we'll
Which
get to
is,
see some December Cowboys.
well, if they play like they usually play in December, Don is absolutely right. Yeah. So, but Dave, what did you think about that 49-17? You know, they did what they were supposed to do. I mean, you know, it's the Cowboys.
Well, I'm used to the Steelers. They play everybody close. They could be a 30-point favorite, and you would have a 3-point game. But I think that the Giants are they've just bottomed out. What do they have other than Saquon Barkley? And then unfortunately in today's NFL, the running backs just aren't able to, on their own, they can't control the game. It's not like it was even 15 years ago where a running back could take over a game. That's not happening now, and so that's all the Giants have. So I'm not surprised. I thought that it would be closer, but I think the proof of the pudding for the Cowboys is going to come when they have to play the Eagles again. Even when they play the Commanders, the Commanders should give them a better battle than the Giants did. And then they got the Seahawks too. So then that'll kind of give an idea how real this team is. But it seems like their defense looked pretty stout. But it's like, how can you really? How good do you feel about how stout they are when they're going up against lesser competition?
Bill, even though we're still talking about this game, I want to ask you about Tony Pollard. Since he's came back in, to me, he doesn't look like he's like he should have came back as early as he did. I'm not sure, but I'd have to look it up. Does he have 100-yard rushing game this year, Bill? I know you know.
Well, I think he probably would have if they left him in that game. They took him out, and let Rico Dowdell finish them off. But I think that would have been his game because, they could have done whatever they wanted. It was like when they have like a father-son game, but it's the fathers versus the sons. One of those kind of things. There very little resistance was put up. So the stat line, not stat line, but the scoreboard for this year, Giants versus Dallas, is 89-17, right? Because at least they scored this time, right? They got blanked the last time, so 40-0 first time. So progress is being made. They scored 17 points and only allowed 9 more than the last time. So if they keep playing Dallas, over and over again, they'll narrow the gap. By about the year 2071, it'll be a very, very close game.
Yes. Oh, okay. Let's see who else we're going to talk about here. Let's talk about the Raiders, even though Bo's not here. The Raiders' new interim coach, Mr. Pierce, gets his second win as the Raiders top the Jets 16-12. The Raiders' running back, Josh Allen, is at 27 carries for 116 yards. That's really not that impressive, but he did have 100 yards rushing. And Ayahuasca says he's going to be under center in December, no later than December. Gentlemen, what do you think? Is that to be or not to be? I mean, is he, is that the ayahuasca talking? Should the Jets, even put him under center, considering how valuable he is this year? Should they wait till next year and kind of called this year a wash. To be or not to be, Dave? What do you think? Should he come back?
Well,
There's talk they're coming back. What this Sunday, right?
yeah, I think one of the, there were some clips of him throwing the ball, passing the ball, which, with the injury that he had, if he's able to toss the ball, that's pretty impressive. Now, that doesn't make him anywhere close to game ready. I'm just curious as to once he puts on pads, how is his body going to respond? Because it's one thing to be in a stadium passing a ball, not dropping back, going forward, movement inside the pocket. Um, I think I would like to see once he starts actually practicing, how long does it take him to come up to speed? I don't think he's going to be able to start practicing and then in a week all of a sudden be behind center for the Jets. It might take a couple weeks. Now, the Jets are not out of the playoff picture. I mean, they got a losing record, but still they're in a position. It's kind of a weird season, but they're actually in a position of where if they could win some more games, they might actually have a shot at the playoffs. And if that were the case, maybe he would want to work himself up where he could play the last couple games. But I think number one is first let's see what happens once he's actually practicing. The thing, with the Raiders, the thing I'd like to mention, what I would love to see is for the Raiders, because Antonio Pierce, I tell you what, he really impressed me with his one speech to the team, right when they fired Josh McDaniels. And the team has rallied around this guy. And the more you hear about Josh McDaniels, it's like, how did the Raiders ever come to hire this guy a second time? After having a shot in Denver, and you're hearing a lot of stories there. But what I would love to see is for the Raiders now, don't even wait till the end of the season. Give Pierce a 2-year prove-it contract. Just hire him as your coach. No interim stuff. Hire him as your coach. Give him a 2-year contract. You're kind of, you're not committing yourself over the long haul, but at the same time, you're telling Antonio Pierce, we like what you've done with this team. And I think that the Raiders team would even more rally around this coach. I was not that familiar with Antonio Pierce, but after hearing him and after seeing how these players have responded to him, I think that Mr. Davis, he should do that, because then that's reinforcing the notion to the players that, hey, I not only have I listened to you, now I'm putting my money down on the guy that you were backing up. So that's my thought on the Raiders.
Don, what do you think about ayahuasca playing? Getting under center in December. Should this be classified as a performing enhancing drug if he's able to get back under center in December, considering the injury? I mean, what's your thoughts, Don? Either on ayahuasca or the Raiders?
Someone said a while ago, just because you're throwing the ball doesn't mean you're ready to go. I mean, dude had a very significant injury. He's not coming back this year. I don't care if he is smoking, Jamaican ganja or hillbilly heroin, whatever. He's not coming back. It's not going to happen. And I think the Jets should just bite the bullet and go with the flow.
Your thoughts there, Bill?
Well, he might be getting under the center of his yurt or he might be in the center of like an Iniki, where he's purifying himself. But you mean the center of an offensive line in an actual full contact football game? I mean, that's just, he likes tweaking people. He likes having fun. He a little bit of trolling. He's 39 years old. I mean, it would be a medical miracle for him to be out there playing football in December. I'm not going to say it's utterly impossible. I'm going to say it's practically impossible is what I'll say. And it would be foolhardy. I mean, you would want to err on the side of caution with a man who's pushing 40 who just tore his Achilles. So if he is out there playing, something's gone desperately wrong, or we've all been microdosed through our televisions. But either way, it should not happen. Whether it does or not, it should not. And I don't think it will.
Well, what they could do, and there's really little risk, is if they were to open the 21-day window. If they open the 21-day window, he starts to practice. They got 3 weeks in order to make a decision. They could make a lot of publicity doing that. And then if they don't activate him after that 3 weeks, then he goes on IR for the rest of the year.
Got it.
And I would not be surprised if something like that didn't happen in December, where he actually never does get activated. But it would gin up a lot of publicity, and he's pretty good at that.
Yeah, we're talking about him, so you're definitely right there, Don. Dave. Don, Baker Mayfield, another one of your guys. He went 18 out of 29, passed for 278 yards.
Yeah.
Had 2 TDs to stop the 4-game skid of the Bucks. The Bucks win 20-6. Don, running back Derrick Henry was held to 28 yards on 11 carries. So pick your poison. You can talk about Baker Mayfield, or you can talk about Derrick Henry, or both.
Oh yeah. So it was a good win for the Bucks. Baker did what Baker had to do. But to me, Derrick Henry, 28 yards, that's usually half a quarter for him, So that was just kind of discerning. I just kind of wonder what happened. I didn't get to see the game. It wasn't televised in my neck of the woods. So I didn't get to see if maybe they had some injuries along the offensive line, or maybe, possibly the Bucks were still in their signals. Who knows? But Derrick Henry that's 28 yards for a total game is not good at all. So I'm going to give this credit to that Tampa Bay defense in this game. Baker, yeah, okay, he did good, but I just think it's worth telling that Buccaneer defense put him in, short field positions to get the win.
What was your thoughts on that, Dave?
Well, I was just looking at the schedule because, like I was saying before, the Saints have an issue at quarterback. Tampa Bay doesn't, and Tampa Bay is right behind the Saints, but they don't play until week 17. But I tell you what, that should be an interesting game if. Of course, now they got to play the 49ers, but if the Bucks can hang in there, that should be an interesting game to play. And I'd love to see, a lot of people were writing Baker Mayfield off. He had gone to Carolina, didn't work out, went to the West Coast, didn't work out. Now he seems to have found a home in Tampa Bay. And what I always admired about Baker Mayfield, very super competitive guy. Like his last season in Cleveland, his arm was in a sling. He was bound up with a sling, trying to throw the football. And what Cleveland did to him, I think, was unconscionable. I mean, they just dumped him on the side of the street after he could have legitimately said, my shoulder needs surgery. I can't play anymore. But he played through that entire season. What that showed me, I couldn't stand the commercials, but that showed me that this guy has a competitive fire, wants to play, and he's being given a chance for the Buccaneers to do it. So I'll be interested to see if they can keep pace with the Saints right now.
Bill, your thoughts? Baker Mayfield or Derrick Henry? Either one.
I'll start with Baker Reagan Mayfield. And a lot of people once again sort of bailed on him. And while he didn't quite pull off what Dobbs did, I'd like to remind people that he showed up and I think was 4 days after he shows up in Los Angeles, he's starting in a football game. Now, the big difference is they knew that Stafford was not available. He was practicing with the ones the whole time. And then with Dobbs' situation a couple weeks ago, he had never had a single practice of any sort with the ones. So, a little more miraculous. But Baker's played well. Tampa Bay is sort of falling apart around him. They have some good pieces that I like. I mean, they have, a Hall of Famer at wide receiver, a Hall of very good at wide receiver. They have some young guys like Trey Palmer who are very talented and on the way up. But that defense for Tampa Bay's gotten old. They do also have a young tight end, Kate Otten, but the defense has gotten old, and their offensive line isn't what it used to be. And Baker still managed to play at a high level and get them into some games or keep them in some games that I think they would not have been otherwise. But yes, they are that's one of the teams that might be looking to trade up to get that long-term answer at quarterback.
Let's talk about some quarterbacks, Bill. I'm going to start with you on this one. The Seahawks quarterback, Geno Smith, his long ball in the first half kept the Commanders at bay. And then kicker Jason Myers has a walk-off field goal that led to the 29-26 victory over the Commanders. It was one of 5 games that was decided on the field goal in the last few minutes. Bill, the Seahawks and the 49ers are tied for first in the NFC West. The NFC West. So,
Yep, that's correct.
what's your thoughts here on the NFC West and the Seahawks in particular?
Yeah, well, I have a certain weakness, I guess you could say, over the Seahawks. I mean, I'm not a fan, but I've stood and watched them do things somewhat differently from other teams. We talked about how old Belichick is. Well, the second oldest coach that you would never guess by watching him is Pete Carroll. He still warms up people throwing the ball and running around and, jumps into defensive drills and goes into one-on-ones. So he's just relentlessly energetic for a person of his age. But they are a team that still has a good shot at the playoffs. And I'm a little surprised they didn't do more at the trade deadline, quite frankly. I think they could have added, we just talked about Montez Sweat. If they could have added a player like Montez Sweat also, that would have really helped that team. But they have a bridge quarterback who they feel good about, and that's what you want. Your bridge quarterback is just there to get you from here to the draft where you find hopefully your long-term answer. But he's done well.
What do you think, Don? Talking about Geno Smith.
Well, to me, Geno Smith is one of those guys that just a few years ago I thought I would never hear back from him again, but he just kind of, I guess, reinvented himself and has shown that he can come in and do well. Big surprise for me because, like I said, I kind of written him off. So I have a lot of grudging respect for the Seahawk program right now. I'm not a big fan or anything like that. I'm not saying I'm going to cheer for him, but I do have that admiration for what they've accomplished and what they're. I think Seattle's going to do okay. So hats off to Geno Smith and Pete Carroll.
Dave, what do you think?
Well, Baltimore just smashed Seattle. I mean, and I was surprised.
Yeah.
I was really expecting a closer game.
No, it's not.
And that's as much with the Seattle's defense as it was, Geno Smith. But they bounced back. They beat Washington. And the way the schedule is panned out, they got two games. San Francisco and Seattle still play each other twice over the next few weeks. So I'd like to see. I mean, Washington is not a great team. They're not. They're better than the Giants or the Panthers, but I'd like to see how they look in their matchups against San Francisco. That's where we'll see Geno Smith and see how he can perform on the highlights. But that Baltimore game, I was just surprised, and of course they had to travel all the way to the East Coast, but still that was surprising for a team that's right up there, 6-3, vying for first place.
Dave, the Bungles get stunned at home by the Texans, 30-27. C.J. Stroud throws for 356 yards, and Matt Amendola's 36-yard field goal walks it off. Dave, let's talk about the Bengals first, and then I know there's been a couple things written, but what do you think about C.J. Stroud for Rookie of the Year as well as MVP?
All right. Well, first the Bengals. I mean, yeah, they got beat, but earlier in the season, it was like, oh well, the Texans are going to be at the bottom. Well, I saw them play against Pittsburgh, who they beat 30-6. They're a much better team than people realized. And one of the things that was hurting them is they had so many injuries on the offensive line, and somehow they have kept that together. So the Bengals getting beat, that's not so bad. I think the important thing is that Joe Burrow is playing very, very good, because in the first couple of weeks we were worried about that calf muscle and could he compound the injury by insisting on playing, but he played through it, and I think that he's 100%. And Cincinnati's going to be pretty tough. One of the things I wonder about their defense, I think that their run defense is pretty weak, but it's a opportunistic defense. I think that they're +10 on the takeover or takeaway stat. So I don't. For the Bengals, I don't see this as any bad thing that they lost. They lost the game. That's bad, but it isn't like they lost to a trash team. The Texans are pretty good. As far as C.J. Stroud, yeah, I think he'd be a great candidate for Rookie of the Year. He's taken a team that nobody thought was going to be doing anything. He's been playing very well. It seems that his leadership, that the players are responding to his leadership as a rookie. No, I think he's a very, very strong candidate for Rookie of the Year.
Don, what are your thoughts about them Texans beating the Bengals?
Hey,
And like I say, CJ throwing for 356 yards.
CJ Stroud, that young man has shown me a lot. Texan fans have been waiting for this moment for a while. It's been a while since they've been in any kind of conversation other than being in the basement. But I think they have a little spark. I don't know how they'll finish, but I do like the the idea of C.J. Stroud being the rookie of the year. I don't know about MVP because Mahomes is still around, but I think that young man he's killing it. Everything I've heard about him, he's a positive guy. So I just might convert to be a Texan fan. Who knows? But I'm kidding. But I will cheer for him when they play. So hats off to him. Joe Burrow is still a great quarterback. I mean, it's not like the Bengals are terrible, but I think the Texans are showing the rest of the NFL that, hey, we got some life, and maybe they can build on that.
Bill, you want to finish this up? The Bengals first, and then CJ for our Rookie of the Year and MVP.
Sure.
Andor.
Yeah, I think that these are two fairly evenly matched teams. I'll give the slight edge to the Bengals. And are we doing scores also?
Yes.
What's the over-under on that game?
No, we're still talking last week's games.
Oh, last week's game. Right. Well, I mean, what's been done? One, somebody mentioned, getting stuff out into the public. Everyone's talked about it. I'll give shout out to whoever made that decision because one, it's been popularized, and everybody who had an open spot, even places who didn't, creative ones that wouldn't miss a chance to sign him. So that's a great question.
Let's see.
You know what I wanted to mention too? I forgot to mention. I think that with the Texans beating Cincinnati in the playoff picture, I think that made the Texans the last seed right now if the season were to end today, and it dropped Cincinnati out. Just that result. So again, Texans are better than people think.
Oh, I guess, yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. Two more questions here. Don, the Clowns snapped the Ratbirds 6-game winning streak with the last-minute field goal. They win the game 33-31. The Clowns get a split in the head-to-head matchup with the Ratbirds. I was going to ask you about Deshaun Watson, but now we hear that he's out for the rest of the season. When he was out last, his backup did pretty well. What do you think there, Don?
Well, nothing good massage won't help. Yeah. And we just talking about the Texans. So I had to throw that in there with this massage parlor escapade. Well, I think the key in that game was that they blocked the field goal. Justin Tucker. I didn't get to see the game because it's not in my viewing area, but I went and checked the box score and said Justin Tucker had a field goal blocked on him. So I think that was the difference in the game, perhaps. But yeah, when you can beat the Ravens, that's a good thing because the Ravens are, they're tough as shit for the most part. So the fact that Cleveland was able to pull that upset, and who knows, with that Deshaun Watson, those guys want to play hard. Cleveland's always been, going back even to the 70s, they were like very blue collar, smash mouth, what have you. They just happen to be in that same division with Pittsburgh, poor guys. But yeah, maybe they get Brian Sipe out of retirement to go to play if they need to. But that seemed like it was a good game.
Yeah. Bill, you still with us here?
I am.
Okay.
So,
the 49ers get back to their winning ways with the 34-3 whooping of the Jaguars. The 49ers quarterback, Purdy, he was 19 for 26. He threw for 296 yards, had 3 TDs and no touchdowns. But the last touchdown, Bill, I'm sure you saw it. the fullback, Mr. Jaworski, he caught a ball on the 1 yard line and fought his way in for a touchdown. But in doing so, he also helped snap McCaffrey's touchdown streak of 17 games. Do you think that he should have went down and given McCaffrey a chance to keep his streak alive, Bill?
Give McCaffrey a chance to do what you said.
To keep his streak alive. You know, he got stopped at 17.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, players, I'm going to say they don't care about these things. They care, but they care about winning vastly more than any individual accolade. And then in the case of Burrow, he has played.
You mean Jaworski. It was Jaworski, the fullback, that caught the pass.
You mean Kyle Juszczyk? No, not Kyle Juszczyk.
Yeah. He's the one that caught the pass.
Yeah,
and went in for the score.
Yep. And I mean, when plays are drawn up, they're drawn up sometimes to attack a certain coverage or a certain player or things like that. And just by sort of assuming that someone else would have been there, that it would have turned out the same way, isn't always correct. But clearly, Christian McCaffrey will score more points. Like, that's the thing that they least need to be concerned about in terms of everything about that team. They have had a lot of injury issues. They're still a very good team. They're still very deep, but not as deep as they were. They did wisely make some additions to the roster before the trade deadline. So I think that they will close out with a strong stretch run and probably win this division by maybe 2 points when it's all. I mean, two games when it's all said and done.
Okay. Dave, the Steelers improved to 6-3, but very interesting fact here, Dave. The Steelers are the first team since 1940. That's 7 years before even I was born, to have a winning record despite being outgained in each of their first 9 games of the season. The defense takes a hit with linebacker Kawan Alexander is gone for the season. So, Dave, how long is this streak going to go on?
Well, I got to give credit to Mike Tomlin. I mean, to keep his teams engaged, and they have a crazy record of where in one-score games, they could lose the next 6 one-score games and still be ahead of the next team behind them. They've set up this big streak of winning these one-score games, and I got to credit Mike Tomlin. What I would say is an ugly win beats a pretty loss every time.
100%.
And they're just figuring out a way how to win. It's just like this last game. They let Jordan Love, they let the Packers back in the game. They could have iced it with 2 minutes left. They intercepted one ball in the end zone when Patrick Peterson tipped the ball to Keanu O'Neal. And then the Steelers had the punt, and the Packers got the ball with 59 seconds left with no timeouts at their own 19. And I was at the game. Next thing you know, they're at the 16-yard line, and Jordan Love is spiking the ball with 3 seconds on the clock. He throws for the end zone, and DeMonte Kazee intercepts the ball. 2 interceptions in the end zone. And then Kazee runs out of bounds, bulls over Danny Smith, who's the special teams coach. He's 70 years old. And there's a little melee that broke out on the sideline. And what was interesting about that was that Isaac Silomolu, he just immediately, he's an offensive player. He automatically puts his helmet on because the Packers are then coming in. It's a sideline melee. And Darnell Washington, rookie, he doesn't have his helmet on. He's right around the edge of the action. And I think that Mike Tomlin should use that as a film training opportunity to show what a veteran does, because you never know what happens in a melee. But the thing is the loss of Quan Alexander is very big loss because they just lost Cole Holcomb last week to injured. He's out for the season. So now that means where before they had 3 veteran inside linebackers that they were able to rotate in, 2 out of the 3 are out. And so now you're going to have Elandon Roberts paired with Mark Robinson, who 3 years ago was a running back. And so he's good against the run, but he's not so good against the pass because he's a developmental player. So that's a very, very big loss. So how long will these wins take? They're playing Cleveland this week, and I know that and they're talking about they're going to be starting Dorian Thompson Robinson is who I think that they're going to start, not Palmer or PJ Walker. I think it's going to be the other guy, the rookie. And but the thing is even with Watson out, this is a run first team, and losing Quan Alexander is really going to hurt Pittsburgh. And the other thing is that Cleveland defense is the real deal. That's a very, very stout defense.
Yeah, we have our work certainly cut out for us. So let's get to the scores. And Bill, we're going to start with you here with the scores. Thursday, the game tomorrow, Thursday night, features the Bungles and the Ratbirds. The Bungles are getting 4, and the over-under is 46.
I will take the under, and I will take the Ravens. I think this game's going to be exceedingly close. I think even 4 points is too much to me.
And the first Sunday game, Bill, is the Bears. They're getting 9.5 versus the Lions, and the over-under is 47.
47, you said the over-under?
Yep.
I will take the over. And what was the spread?
9.5.
Oof. I don't think that's going to be a cover. That's a lot of points. So I'm going to say no on that.
Don, Thursday night, Bungles Ratbirds.
I'll take the Ravens.
Over under is 46.
You know me, I don't over under that really. I mean, I guess I'll take the Ravens in the points.
Okay. And Sunday, the Bears. The Bears getting 9.5 at the Lions.
Lions. It'll be more than 9.5. So yeah, I'll go Lions.
Oh, okay, so you like that 47? Huh?
I do. So
All
with
right.
that said, guys, I haven't had to bug out. I got a long day tomorrow, but I will see y'all after Thanksgiving.
See you, Don.
And give Ranger our best, and make sure you're brushing for the weekend, for the holidays.
Okay, guys, y'all take care.
Take care, Don.
Good night.
Give us your last words there before you leave, Don.
Last words. Well,
Your final thoughts, not your last words.
yeah. Let's
Vegas took a dark turn on the sports grid.
So last weekend, I met some family in Nashville, Tennessee, and I haven't been to Tennessee probably in 20 years. I've been there before. My family has reached there. In fact, my family on my dad's side, they're the founders of Nashville, so I got that going for me. But I got to view some Civil War battlefields. Went to Andrew Jackson's house, and I got to tell you a funny story about Andrew Jackson because I love history. While he was president, he was given a bird I believe by the Sultan of Morocco, one of those North African barbary kingdoms. And Andrew Jackson was he was a very colorful guy. He taught that bird how to cuss. And when he died, they were having a viewing in the parlor there at the Hermitage. In the other room, that bird was cussing up a storm. Like, hey, you son of a bitch, right? Son of a bitch, you know. So I can imagine having getting cussed at by Andrew Jackson's parrot. So that's my final thoughts. Not
Nice.
sports related
Cool,
to
Don.
history. All right,
You know,
guys.
hey Don, I wanted to let you know that I think it was the Hermitage. His drive had some cannonballs lined there, and then back in the I think it was probably in the 70s, they had some EOD guys look at him, and it turned out that a couple of the rounds had black powder in them. They were still actually live. And these were like some cannonballs that they were using to kind of line a drive that came up to the Hermitage. So I don't know if you noticed seeing any cannonballs there, but
now I know during World War II, when the installation in South Carolina, they had some guys there on Coast Guard duty, you know, looking for German U-boats, and they started a fire. And they threw a cannonball in there and exploded and killed 2 of them. So, yeah, I believe it. It's crazy. But anyway, y'all go back talking sports, and we'll talk history later.
take care,
Yeah,
Don.
right.
See you at
Right.
Thanksgiving, Don.
You
So I think I'm up, James.
Excuse me?
I think I'm up then.
Yes. What were where were we? Did we get? Were we
At the
still
top.
on the we're at the Bungles and the Ratbirds.
Yep.
For you tomorrow night. Bengals +4. Over under is 46.
Yeah, and I think T. Higgins has already been declared out.
Yes, he has. He's on my fantasy
and
team.
Sam Hubbard is out on their defense. So I'm definitely taking the Ravens, but I'm still going to take the over in that game.
Oh, okay. What about the Bears getting 9.5 from the Lions? Over under is 47.
You know, some of these spreads are huge this week, and but we're going to hear Bill groaning here. I think over the next few of these, but I'm going to take the Bears to cover, and I'm going to take the under in that game.
Okay. Let's kind of go in groups of 3 here, since there's only 3 of us. Let's see. Dave, let's start with the Cowboys, giving 10.5 to the Panthers, and the over-under is 42.5.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Cowboys. I mean, you know, they did it against the Giants. Let's see what they do against the Panthers. So I'm going to take the Cowboys and the over in that game.
Okay, the Raiders getting 12 at the Fins, and the over-under is 46.5.
Well, I like Anthony Pierce, what he said. So I want to see the Raiders make a game out of this. So I'm going to take the Raiders to not necessarily win, but to make it close, and I'll take the under.
Okay, and the Cards getting 4 versus the Texans, and the over-under in this game is 47.5.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under again, and I just think that the Texans are a better team than a lot of people realize. So I'm taking the Texans.
Okay, Bill.
Yep.
Okay, the Cards getting 4.5 versus the Texans, over/under 47.5. Bill?
Yep. Oh, the Cardinals, and that game's being played where?
At the Texans.
Oh, okay. Got it. So those teams are built
Over under is 47.5.
47.5. Ugh. I'll still take the over, though I'm probably going to end up regretting it. And since you said they're playing in Arizona,
Texas.
I'm sorry, playing in Texas. And I'll take the Texans.
Okay. The Raiders getting 12, playing the Dolphins. They're playing at the Dolphins, and the over under is 46.5.
46.5. Okay. I will
12.
46.5. Okay. And it's being played in Seattle.
Miami.
Miami. Oh, no. Okay, that's very different. Yeah, so and the spread, the spread, the spread was
12.
Oh, no. Give me Seattle. I'll stick with Seattle at 12. Good God.
You mean the Raiders?
I mean the Raiders. I'll stick with the Raiders. I think their hot streak continues in terms of better play, but I don't see them being able to beat them, but I think they'll stay within, around 10, 11 points. So yeah, I'll go with the Raiders. And
okay. What about the Cowboys, Bill? They're giving 10.5 to the Panthers, and the over under is 42.5.
Yeah, well, they'll cover that against the Panthers with room to spare. And you said the over under was
42.5.
Oh yeah, I'll take the over.
Okay, let's go down here to the Titans. They're getting 6.5 versus the Jaguars, and the over under is 36.5. Staying with you, Bill.
Okay, so the Titans are getting 6.5, and it's being played in Tennessee.
No, it's being played Jacksonville.
Oh, Jacksonville. Okay, and they're getting. You said 6.5. I'll still take Jacksonville, and the over under was
36.5.
Yeah, I'll take the over. Sheesh.
Okay. The Chargers -3 against the Packers, and the over under is 44.5.
I will take the 44.5. I'll take the over, and I will take the Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay, Dave. Starting with the Cards and the no, did we do that one already? No, we didn't. Okay.
Yeah, we did that one.
Okay, the Titans plus
you.
6. Yeah, the Titans plus 6.5 at the Jaguars. Over under is 36.5.
I'm taking the Jags with the caveat.
Okay.
They disrespected the terrible towel in Pittsburgh. So as a result, they have not scored a touchdown since they desecrated the terrible towel in Pittsburgh. I don't know, people might not realize that, but they have not scored a touchdown since then. But we're nice guys, so maybe they'll score a touchdown this week. So I'm going to take the Jags in the over in that game.
All righty. The Chargers -3 at the Packers. Over under is 44.5.
Okay, well, the Packers got out of Pittsburgh, so I'm back on the love boat. So I'm going to take the Packers and the over.
All right. Okay. Let's see. The Giants +10 at the Commanders, and the over under is 37.5. Dave.
Against my better judgment, I'm going to take the Giants to cover with that big 10-point spread, but I'm taking the under.
Okie dokie. All right. I think these next three are Bill, right? No, wait. No, it's your three. Let's start with the last 10 o'clock game. Dave, the Steelers are getting 4 at the Clowns, and the over-under is 36.5.
This is going to be a tough game. I'm still going to take the Steelers because they're giving 4. But I think right now it's -1. Those odds have actually changed because of
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson. So I'll take the +4 in the Steelers, but I'm worried about this game. This is going to be a very, very difficult game, and I'm going to take the under.
Okay. And the first game of the afternoon is the Bucks getting 11.5,
Yoy.
playing the 49ers, and the over-under is 41.5.
Well, I think the 49ers are going to win, but I'd like to see Mayfield make a game out of it. So I'm going to take the Bucks to cover, and I'll take the over.
Okay. Let's see. All right, Bill, let's start with the Giants getting 10 from the Commanders, and the over-under is 37.5. You hear me, Bill?
You said the spread was
The spread is 10. The Giants are getting 10 from the Commanders, and the over-under is 37.5.
I'll take the over. I'll take Washington.
Okay. The Steelers and the Clowns, that's being played in Cleveland. Steelers are getting 4, and the over-under is 36.5.
Yeah, I will take Pittsburgh and I'll take the over.
Okay, and the Bucks getting 11.5 at the 49ers, and the over-under is 41.5.
And the over-under for that one was how many?
41.5.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'll go over, and I will take the Louisiana Purchasers.
Okay. We only got 4 games, so I'm going to go through this. Bill, the Jets getting 7 at the Bills, and the over-under is 40. No hook.
40 no hook is the over-under, and
the Jets are getting 7.
Oof, just getting 7. Can the Jets beat anybody by 7?
The Jets are getting 7. They're
Right.
getting 7, not giving 7. They're getting 7 from the Bills.
Oh, then I'll take the Jets. The Bills are in disarray. Their defense, which is a much better defense than not much better, but a better defense than the defense that just gave Joshua Patrick Allen so many problems. So yeah, that seems almost kind of easy to me. And you said the over-under was
40. No hook.
Oh, no hook. Okay, yeah, I'll take the over, and I will take the
Jets.
Jets.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next one, I'm going to stay with you here, Bill. The Seahawks giving the Rams 1, and the over-under is 46.
Right. Okay, 46 is the over-under. And this is being played
in Los Angeles.
Being played in Los Angeles. And the Rams were getting...
The Rams are giving 1.
They're giving... Oh, sheesh. I'll still take the Rams, and you 46. Oh, that's right on the score. I'll take the under then, reluctantly.
Okay. Sunday Night Football. The Vikings are getting 2 from the Broncos. They're playing at the Broncos, And the over-under is 43.5.
43.5. And it's being played in Denver?
Yes.
Being played in Denver, 43.5. And the spread is
2. Vikings are
Oh.
getting 2. Mr.
Vikings are-
Dobbs is getting 2.
Oh, they're getting to. Yeah, give me the Vikings then.
Okay. Over-under?
And you said 42.5?
Yep.
I'll take the over.
All right. Monday Night Football, Bill. The Eagles +3. The Chiefs are giving the Eagles 3. They're playing in Kansas City, and the over-under is 45.5.
I will take the over, and I will take Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. Final thoughts, Bill.
Well, we are now, somebody just mentioned, the holidays are coming. We're in the stretch run of the football season. Basketball's tipped off. And I think about a lot of different things, family and football and all that good stuff. But I also think about, Don mentioned about his love of history, and I'm also a person that very much enjoys digging into, learning into, and studying the history of a variety of different things. And there are some players who are great, right? Some competitors who are Hall of Famers and somehow are still underrated, still not quite as appreciated as they should have been. But I'm going to mention one of them. On this day in basketball history, Elgin Baylor dropped 71 points in a shot clockless game. And I mean, to explain what it takes for a player in 1960 to score 71 points versus the Knicks is difficult to explain now. And Elgin Baylor was a truly great player. Should be mentioned in the same breath with people like Dr. J, mentioned in the same breath with people like Michael Jordan, in the same breath with, whoever you want to bring up. He's one of the best, players of that size, that small forward, big guard, 6'5", 6'6", incredibly explosive. Had a nice jumper, but, beat people a lot of times just off the move. Mostly layups, but would dunk, definitely on occasion as well. And like I said, had a pretty good jumper as well, but good rebounder also, and very good defender. So a player who could do a little bit of everything. And of course, later went on to become one of the early Black basketball executives after his playing career was over. So I think about, how unfortunately Elgin Baylor has shrunk in the minds of modern fans, which is to be expected to some extent. I mean, George Mikan and, Bob Pettit and a bunch of the greats of the past have, are not well known to a lot of younger fans, but Elgin Baylor was truly one of the all-time greats. Graceful. If not for 2 bad knees, he would have been a threat to any scoring, career scoring number you want to throw out there. He had 2 bad knees, and, there were times when they didn't know about load management. There's times that he would be icing his knees all of his waking minutes, and he would go to sleep with ice strapped to his knees. I mean, he, was in incredible pain, unfortunately, bone on bone towards the latter part of his career. But he played at a high level for a long time. And like I said, it would have been even greater if not for those knees. But on this day, I want to celebrate the 71-point effort that Don Baylor did on this day in 1960.
I would not, as soon as you mentioned his name, I would have thought that he was already in the Hall of Fame. I'm surprised
he's
to
in.
hear
No,
that.
he's in. Oh, he's in. He's in. I didn't say.
Oh, he is in. Okay.
Oh,
I
yeah,
thought
Oh,
you were saying he was not.
Oh, yeah. No. He's definitely the Basketball Hall of Fame. No offense, is one of the easiest to get. One of the easiest. I mean, Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace is in. So yes, I promise you. I mean, Elgin Baylor has been in quite some time. I'm just saying that in the minds of a lot of younger fans, he's not as well remembered for just
Or
is not committed. Right.
in the minds of younger fans, he might not even be known.
Well, I guess that's what I'm saying, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think
The history of basketball starts with Kobe.
yes. The point I'm making is that, like, even young fans who have no real knowledge of Jim Brown know who Jim Brown is on the football side. I don't know if young fans of basketball have sort of the same knowledge and appreciation of Elgin Baylor. That's all I was saying.
No, I definitely agree with that, Bill. Like I said, most of these youngsters, if you get past Kobe, they probably have to Google it. But great thoughts as always, Bill.
Thank
We
you, sir.
appreciate that.
Certainly.
Dave, let's get these last four out the way and get your final thoughts. So Sunday, 125, the Jets getting 7, playing the Bills at in Buffalo, and the over-under is 40.
Yeah, I went back and forth, but I'm taking the Jets to cover and the over.
Okay. The Seahawks getting 1, playing the Rams, and the over-under is 46. Games being played in LA.
I'm taking the under and taking the Seahawks.
Okay. Sunday night, the Vikings getting 2, playing in Denver. And the over-under is 43 and the hook, 43 and a half.
Yeah, this is an interesting game because you got the Josh Dobbs story, with the Vikings, and then all of a sudden, the Broncos are kind of, they won last week and they're getting back into the picture. So I'm going to take the Broncos and the over.
Whoa, okay. So no win for Mr. Dobbs. Okay. And the final game, Monday night football, the Eagles getting 3, playing in Kansas City, and the over-under is 45 and a half.
Wow, what a great game.
I know.
I'm going to take the over in this game, and I'm going to go with the Eagles.
Whoa, okay.
And last week, if you had taken my things into the sports book, broke even on the picks 7-7, but on the over and unders, I was 9-5.
There you go. There you go.
Surprised myself.
Yeah, there you go. You'll have grandma's insulin money in no time. So, Dave, give us your final thoughts for the evening. And as always, man, a great show. You, Bill, Reggie, and Bo. One of these days we'll get Mr. Scott and Demetrius on, but we're working on it. So I'm looking forward to this Eagles-Chiefs game. To me, it'll be very interesting because half my team is Eagles and the other half of my team is Chiefs.
Oh,
I'm going to have to make some decisions on, the quarterback, the wide receiver. Of course, it's no doubt that Kelsey is definitely going to be in my lineup over Gabbert. Gabbert's out anyway. I'm really.
Taylor Swift going to be at the game?
I hope so.
All right. If she is, then you're in good shape.
Yeah. As I said, I certainly hope so. So, give us your final thoughts there, Dave.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we're getting into the second half of the NFL season, and just as we've been discussing, there's been some teams that have been kind of and players that have been reinventing themselves, getting rejuvenation. Josh Dobbs is a great example. What the Raiders are doing, Denver coming on. it's really for me. It's an interesting season because I think a lot of divisions are wide open. So I'm really looking forward to the remainder of the season, and I just want to say, we got Thanksgiving coming up next week. I know a lot of people are going to be traveling to be with family and friends. I hope everybody stays safe. Sports is something that brings us all together, brings people of all different backgrounds together. And then what these teams do, a lot of teams, people talk about tribalism and then they kind of put a negative context on it. But see, to me, tribalism is something that brings people together and helps you survive. You have to work together in order to go. And that's what sports does. And so for the people that root for a team, Steelers Nation, the Buffalo Bills Mafia, the Raven flock, so on and so forth, those people. And if you ever look at a group of those people, they're all kinds of different backgrounds. And I really, really love that. Sports is a binder. It binds people together, even though there's the competition at the end of the day. At the end, I think that it's something that brings a lot of people together, and it's to be appreciated. And I just wanted to leave with that thought because we're going into Thanksgiving, and what Thanksgiving is all about is to bring family and friends together. So next week we're going to have 23. No, it's dropped to 21 people at our house for Thanksgiving. So, and it's a mix of family, some friends, one couple from Chile and their family. So it's just not an American mix, and it's my favorite holiday, because that's what it's all about. Doesn't matter what your religion is, doesn't matter what color you are, doesn't matter what language you speak. It's just a matter of coming together and breaking bread. And that's why, for me, Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays. So that's my final thought for this evening.
Well, I know a lot of, like you said, people will be traveling and whatnot for Thanksgiving or having company. So our next show will be on the Wednesday after Thanksgiving. And be safe, everyone.
Yes.
Take care of family and friends. And I echo your sentiments there, Dave. Thanksgiving is probably one of the few times when we can gather in the spirit of fellowship. There's no presents exchange. No one has to be jealous of one another. You sit down and you share a meal, and you have the fellowship and the camaraderie of family and friends. So that's the real story about Thanksgiving. Don't worry about the Pilgrims and the Indians. Take care of your own family. We'll be fine. So, final thoughts. Have a great day, guys, and I will see you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks.
Great.
James.
Hey, take care, guys. Happy
Take care.
Thanksgiving.
Have a good one. See you guys later.
Good night.